The thing that helped me the most when I was struggling through infertility was knowing that I wasn't alone. The fertility world talks a lot about injections and statistics and transfer days, but very little about what is happening in your life as you navigate all of it. That invisible part of infertility that can feel the loudest, the fear, the hope, the waiting, and how it changes your life completely. Today, I am so excited to bring you Lucy and Yaelle from IVF Real Talk as we dive into the emotional side of IVF. And not just what happens in the clinics, but what happens in those quiet moments between appointments, in your thoughts at 3 a.m., and in the way your body responds to all the uncertainty along the way. So if you want to have an honest conversation about how much this journey really impacts us, then this is the episode that you need to hear. Welcome to your journey to fertility. This is the podcast that blends science with spirit to give you all the tools you need as you navigate your fertility journey. I'm your host, Jennifer Edmonds, and for the last 15 years, I've been helping women on their journeys to motherhood and beyond. I believe that combining the latest scientific research along with the best energetic and mindset practices will help you to avoid putting your life on hold and bring you closer to your baby. Each week, you'll learn ways to support your fertility and trust your body so that you can stop stressing that you'll never have your baby and finally walk your path to motherhood. This is the Your Journey to Fertility podcast. So welcome back to the podcast. I am so thrilled to have not one, but two very special guests in the studio with me today. Now, you may know Lucy and Yaelle from their podcast, IVF Real Talk. The girls started this podcast, was it 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
September will be 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. And it was a way to share honest conversations, right, with real people about their fertility journeys and also bring you a lot of insights from experts and leading doctors and specialists along the way. It is a safe space for anyone who is navigating infertility and a reminder that you are not alone on this journey. So, girls, welcome.
Thank
you for having us.
Thank you. I would love to start by learning a little bit more about you both. And if you don't mind sharing your own personal fertility journeys and to kind of share how the podcast came about as well. Lucy, do you want to start?
Yes, so my journey started, I feel like everyone's fertility journey starts thinking it's going to happen straight away. Trying to conceive, I feel like was the longest part of my journey. So I was trying to conceive for probably about 2 to 3 years and it just wasn't happening. And I was just back and forth to the doctors, didn't get any answers. I was that patient that every single test came back completely normal, which is frustrating. And also in denial as well. Like I didn't want to go to IVF. I was the patient that was scared to go to IVF. Eventually did, and I felt very alone, didn't know anyone, wasn't in the community at this time. Went to IVF, thought, okay, that's fine. I've surrendered. It's going to happen the first time. But unfortunately, I didn't respond well to the medication. Like yourself, Jen, I know you've been through this as well. And I had a 0 fertilization round, which I didn't even know could happen. So, that was quite overwhelming. And then after that, my fertility doctor recommended a laparoscopy. She suspected endo. Done that, found out I did have endo and adeno. I think I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah. We just go the abbreviation, it's easy.
Yeah. And then it actually took a little bit longer to go back to IVF. My doctor said to me, look, try for about 3 to 6 months. You know, you have a lot higher chance of now having success naturally. Didn't happen. And then I met Yaelle in the community.
Yeah.
And she recommended me her doctor and her clinic. So jumped over to Dr. Charlie and it worked first go.
Yeah,
so
it's wild.
It was amazing. What about you, Yaelle?
My story, kind of 3 years as well, if you start to finish. I kind of have a story before the story. So I met my husband quite late. So even that journey was its own. Dating in Sydney is quite, fun. So I met him later in life and by the time we started, I was already 40. So I kind of knew that potentially this wasn't going to be an easy path, but also naively thought we should be fine. And my husband was very optimistic. He's like, we'll be fine. This is easy. We'll be right. I actually, while I was single, had done my AMH test twice, once when I was 35 and once when I was 37, and they were normal textbook. Actually, your results are we would see in a 20-year-old. So we're really happy. So stupidly put that in the back of my head as a bit of security. And then, met my husband, we got married, and we started trying not long after our wedding. But also I wanted to get tests before we tried. So we did all the tests like Lucy said, all normal, everything's normal. But obviously age was a factor. But apart from that, normal. We actually tried at our very first cycle, we fell pregnant naturally, which we were like, this is amazing. We got told 7% chance. We nailed it. And blissfully in that, just that beautiful, I'm pregnant, I'm on top of the world, everything is amazing, this is easy, right? And then that unraveled really quickly. I remember just going for dinner with my husband and I started bleeding. So I thought that's not good, but still quite holding on to we're okay. Maybe it's just something minor. And it just was a whirlwind of a weekend. It was over a weekend, and from the Friday to the Sunday we had miscarried, unfortunately. That in itself was just a shock to the system, the way it was handled and all of the way it was treated and kind of dismissed. And so I kind of dismissed it too, and sort of just went, okay, well, we need help. And so not long after that, we started our IVF journey. We went to the GP, and I was like Lucy, didn't really talk to many people. I was also very disconnected. All of the people that I did know in my circle had already had kids that were, potentially in primary school at this point. So no one trying around me or experiencing it. So I found that my GP was my trust point. So went to her and she referred me to a clinic, and I was like, okay. But like Lucy, I had so much shame on doing IVF, and I thought, well, maybe they'll give me something else, and that will be our last option. Only to find out very quickly that was our first go-to. Next step was IVF. And so again, we had a really good textbook cycle, which we didn't know at the time. First fresh transfer, pregnant again, sadly to only miscarry again. And so at this point, I started to hit panic mode and start to question, okay, what's wrong with me? It's, we start to doubt ourselves. So then went through that. And again, that was also not the most easy experience, in the sense of it was just kind of pushed aside and, yeah, it happens, it's normal, just do another round, another transfer. And we were fortunate to have quite a few embryos, so we moved on to, as quick as I could recover from that, I had to have a D&C. It was a stretched out process, this miscarriage, with a lot of internals and investigations before they deemed it as non-viable. So then having to have a D&C was traumatic, and even remembering being wheeled in for my D&C and being questioned, why are you upset? And I was like, oh, I'm losing my baby.
My goodness.
And so, yeah, just all this doubt of, okay, well, I guess I shouldn't be upset. And so we just moved. I felt like at this point I was just on a treadmill with the journey. So as soon as I could go to my next transfer, we went to my next transfer. We got to our 6th transfer back to back, failed after failed. And at this point, I was just desperate. So I then jumped into the community, Facebook forums, found Instagram, found Lucy, which was a world of just unpacking information. I then realised that I should have been speaking to my specialist after every failed. We had no contact for a year. So all this time had passed, and I was like, oh my God, 2 miscarriages, no contact. I then started getting to desperate modes, doing acupuncture, found a reproductive immunologist, doing immune therapy, doing everything just to find an answer. And then going on this new journey of let's book in 5 specialists and just get 5 second opinions, which we did. And then we found amazing Charlie, and he fought for us, because our current specialist had basically said, I think you need to try donor egg. That's the solution for you. And I was like, oh my God, we've only done one actual cycle of IVF. I wasn't ready at that point. And then we met Charlie and he's like, no, you've got this. We'll get you pregnant. It's going to happen. And he just gave us such hope at probably one of the lowest points on my journey. And so we went with him. And then, I had all this support in our community. Beautiful Lucy was there by my side. And so, we kept moving on. We were at this point on our second cycle, but still sort of Charlie was like our voice, but do this cycle while I get you on the books at our clinic and get them to do this. And he was just amazing. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got 2 doctors here. Little did they know I'm getting like advice from Charlie and and I kind of felt like I was cheating on my current clinic. It was awkward. But while we were waiting to move, we did our final transfer that failed. And then we moved to Charlie. We did a cycle with Charlie and he uncovered that my lining was thin, which had actually never been checked at my old clinic. They just didn't do ultrasounds for any transfer. So I did 6 transfers with no internal, which was wild. So we just learnt so much, unfortunately, the hard way. And Charlie's like, Yaelle, it could have just been this lining. And I'm like, what? So he had cancelled a fresh transfer and he said, we're freezing all. We're going to actually bank embryos. We're going to do back-to-back. Like he had game plan after game plan. And so we did that. I then sort of suffered from OHSS, which, was okay. We moved on, recovered from that, did our 4th cycle, and it was actually our best cycle. And then, we did a double transfer and we got our beautiful Olivia.
Thank you for sharing. It's so frightening to think that you could go through so much of that and something so simple wasn't checked. And we're all sitting here dumbfounded to, knowing what we know and thinking that's just incomprehensible, but it happens every day.
Yep.
And it drives me crazy. And you think that we don't know what we don't know when we get into these situations. These doctors know everything.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that they don't always. Or it's not that they don't, but they've got procedures and that's the way they do things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever reasons. But that's why this idea of community is so important, because you can hear from others and what they've been through. And I think that information is power, right? And when you've got that, you can then say, okay, well, now I'm going to advocate for myself. And it is a journey. Thank you both for sharing all of that. So you met and commiserated with everything that you've been through. And so then how did the podcast come about?
Well, we actually joined another podcast, IVF Tales, which isn't active anymore. It's a great podcast. And we stepped away from that episode recording and we were like, wow, we feel empowered.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just from that point, I think.
Buzz. We just really
from that point,
felt like it was probably the first time we both told our story in whole. Lucy rang me. She said, I've been asked to share my story on this podcast and I can't do it without you. Do you want to do it together? And I was like, on a podcast? What do you mean? And she's like, yeah, it'll be fun. And I'm like, okay. And we did it. And we literally just got such a therapeutic buzz.
That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, just spitting it all out. It was a car crash of an episode, really, when we look back.
There's like a really long pause in the middle because we recorded it ourselves. We were outside. Like who doesn't outside?
Yes. It was a good learning curve. But apart from that, it was just so empowering to share it and put it out there. And that was our little seed that started the podcast.
That's where it started from.
I feel like your intention in bringing the podcast to everyone was really just to help people feel seen and heard and less alone.
Yeah.
Did you feel like that on your own journeys, that you were just like the only person in the world going through it? Why do you think we get into this place and why don't we talk about it so much?
I think it's a shame. Yeah.
So
don't you
much
think?
shame.
And I don't know why. I look back and I think about myself on the journey. I don't know why I was like that because it's not really in my personality.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I couldn't even say the word infertility. I don't know. Were you the same at the start with your journey?
I didn't even tell my mum when I started going through IVF, which is insane because my mum and I are so close.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I was so ashamed that, I worked in the fitness industry and I was the healthy one. I helped people get healthy. And I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah, that's it though. Like, it's the shame of, why do I need help? Like, I want to do this by myself. Like, why am I broken? But really it's such a amazing science has advanced so much that we can improve things and we can do this. So yeah, I look back and I think I wish I just started earlier.
I think it's also denial as well though.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't admit to myself there was an issue.
Yes.
I couldn't verbalize and articulate that. I just thought it was going to happen the next month. I'm doing something wrong. I need to fix something.
And then there comes the grief with that, accepting that, okay, I have to do IVF now. Like, and
it's scary.
The loss of not doing it naturally, and
it is
and
a
the
grieving
stigma
process
that comes with that. Yeah,
there's such a stigma, and you think now how many people go through IVF? And
absolutely.
If you're at a dinner party, it's definitely more than one.
Yeah, there's 1 in 18 babies are IVF babies now. Like, they're going to be. It's going to tip over, and half the class at school are going to be IVF
I think
kids.
so.
Yeah.
I think so one day.
Yeah, it's going to become the norm.
That is so true. What do you think it is about IVF that no one warns you about when you jump into something that you're going completely blind? But what is it that you really are taken aback by?
I think time. For me, it was the lag of everything. Everything took time. And it's weird because everything's on our cycle, so we should really know that. But like, if you miss that, or the nurse orientation, or you got to get in with this doctor, or this doctor's 3-month wait, or this process, but you've got to wait another cycle, and what seems like next month could be 6 months away.
Yeah, that's so true. I think also the changes that can happen throughout the cycle. You plan to have a fresh embryo transfer, and it can change every given day. And I didn't really realize that's how it works going into it. It's really hard to plan. So I feel like you need to set your expectations so low to not get disappointed.
Yeah, that's so true. And all the pivots, like, you need to be ready to be, tomorrow you might need to go bloods rather than 2 days or a scan or
medication change. And there's so many layers to it.
Yeah, agreed.
That is so true. I thought before I did IVF, I was like, okay, the scariest part's going to be having to do all the injections. That's the scary part. And I very quickly figured out that was definitely the easiest part of it. Oh, my goodness. How did you navigate this? There's like this fear of, I'm going to do all of this and it may not be for anything. And I have no control over that really at the end of the day.
Yeah, that was my biggest fear. And I think that was my darkest thought. I might not become a mum, and I couldn't entertain that for long. I felt like I had to always have something, and I feel like that's why I didn't stop, because if I stopped, then I might have bought into that possibility. So for me, it was, I'm doing acupuncture on Monday. I'm ringing another doctor. I'm talking to Lucy till 1 a.m. I'm messaging everyone. I'm researching, and that was don't think it's their most ideal coping mechanism, but I couldn't buy into that fear.
Yeah, I think I was overly optimistic at the start of my journey when I first went into IVF, and then I became the opposite, really pessimistic to protect myself. And I remember after I had the laparoscopy and got the diagnosis of endo and adeno, me and George, we actually had the conversation, do we give up? Because it's so painful and it's so hard to keep going when you don't know if it's actually going to work or not. Every single day is so heavy, and you can go on a holiday and try not to think about it, but it's always there.
Yeah.
Even on like the happy moments, the happy times when you're out with your girlfriends, I feel like it's always in the back of your mind.
Absolutely.
So I started researching a little bit of childless by choice and not by choice, and just to look down, I followed a few accounts just to see if I would be okay. And the thing I was most worried about was I had so many triggers on my journey, and I thought, what if I give up on IVF and I decide I'm not going to be a mum, I don't want to go down any other paths? And I was just so scared that these triggers were going to follow me and I was going to become, because I got quite bitter on the journey. And I felt like maybe I was going to be bitter forever.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's scary. It's a scary place to be.
Oh, so scary. And you and I are so opposite.
Yeah.
You leaned into looking into that and I was like, I don't want to even think about it and it's not a possibility. Like I can't let it be, but it's a fear.
You had more hope than me,
Yeah.
I feel like, as well.
Yeah.
I think I was the same as you, Yael. It was this idea of, well, you go into fight or flight and,
Yes.
you're not going to punch someone. So what's the alternative of fighting in that situation? It's, I'm going to control everything and I'm going to do what I can and I'm going to keep going and I can't stop for a moment because then that's when all the scary thoughts creep in. That's very relatable as well. I found also I had this feeling of going back to what you said before, Luce, like you can't plan your life. Like your life is just on hold throughout this process, and not just the actual cycle where you're starting the injections and prepping for the surgery, but everything that leads up to that. I feel like you've just got to be ready no matter what the doctor says or, if you are told tomorrow you've got to be in at a clinic. How did you manage living your life amongst that process, going to work and not getting in the way of everything else that you have going on at the same time?
I found that later on, it took me a while to get to this point. It was the most simplest and stupidest thing, but I would make myself every day jot down 3 things that I was grateful for. It could have been that it's a sunny day today and I've got a nice warm coffee, or I had a good day at work. It could have been something that wasn't so, but just I had to buy into something and it would help me get through. And it was something that I started doing in the community as well. And it just kept me sort of grounded and kept me day by day. Because if I had to take the week as it was just too much. So I would just stop. I just needed to stop.
I think that is good advice as well.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't manage it very well because I would have these moments where I would go into work and someone would say something and I would just explode with emotions. Even I remember one girl once told me, my colleague, she told me she was pregnant. And you know how it is on the journey. It's really hard when someone gives you their announcement and you're happy for them, but you're also just so devastated at the same time. And I actually started crying in front of her face.
And when it's in front of you, it's confronting.
And I was like, oh my goodness, why am I crying? Pull it together. But I couldn't help it. The tears were streaming down my face. So I did find it really hard to manage. I found like all the emotion would just come out of me at the worst possible moments because I didn't manage it well. I wish I'd done yoga. I wish I'd done more meditation. I wish I'd done all the little things that would help me along the way.
Yeah. But it took us a long time to get to those places because you started doing your meditation later on.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, and even the community, even talking about it, I feel like for so long we didn't talk about it. So you're building up like a kettle boiling, and of course your emotions are just going to tip over.
Yeah, but did you do that? Did you cry at work?
Oh, I cried every day. Like, let's be real. I'm the most emotional person.
I would try and make it to the shower, not even in front of my husband. That was like the best case scenario, but sometimes it just comes out.
Oh, my husband, he had to cop it all. All the cries. He'd be like, he was just holding us together the whole way.
Yeah.
But crying was like my default.
But you always felt better after.
Normal.
You always feel better after.
Oh, yeah.
That's
better out than in, right?
Yeah.
Did you tell your work when you were going through IVF? How did you navigate that side of things?
I was really blessed with my boss, and you were the same, right?
Yeah.
I was very transparent. And I think it was because I had my first miscarriage. So I wasn't even it was the first thing that happened for us. And my boss caught me in the lunchroom crying with one of the girls. And so then she sat down and she opened up about how she had an ectopic pregnancy and then ended up having her son. And so she sort of opened that door for conversation. And then from that day forward, she knew everything. She knew all my appointments and she was so supportive. So, and I know that not everyone gets that luxury, but yeah, for me, I found it manageable because she knew. So I was quite lucky.
I agree. And I've done the same thing. I told my manager and my boss, and I felt like it just gave me a little bit of leeway to help because there is so many appointments, operations on the journey. You don't know what's next. So even I wanted to work from home while I was doing IVF, so that helped, and last minute leave and all of that. So personally it did help me, but I also understand why people don't want to tell their work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I found that hard as well. And this idea of, if you're going to tell someone that you're going through IVF and they're your employer, in the back of their mind, is it going to be, well, okay, next time we're looking to promote someone.
Yeah.
Are we going to choose them? Because obviously they'll
she's
be
going to go
pregnant
on that
soon.
leave. That's right.
It. I think it's a really hard thing to navigate.
Yeah.
So it is always helpful to have those supportive employers. But gosh, that just opens up, I find, like a whole minefield of so many things. Did you find any other tools really helped you between the waiting periods? Like there's the waiting for your cycle to start, or the waiting to get in with that doctor, or the waiting for the transfer. Like what sort of day-to-day things did you find actually helped you both?
I'd go for long walks.
Yeah, you've done that a lot.
I did a lot of long walks. It was, for me also, my whole journey was in COVID. So in the thick of COVID, like yours, it was intense. And so at least I could go for walks. And funny enough, I didn't realise that Lucy was living in the area where I would go for walks, but I had a close friend, and so we'd go and do walks near Lucy's area. It's just beautiful by the water. Water also calmed me. So it would just be a way that I could just like maybe half fill up my cup for the day, catch up with my girlfriend who was a comfort and new, and just go for a walk. I also did adult colouring in.
You did do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done
so
that a
if
lot.
I was at getting to a really anxious state at home and I'd done my walk and I'd done like my gratitude, and I would colour in, because it would kind of be like a form of meditation for me.
Yeah, it's been studied extensively. It's amazing.
Oh,
Definitely.
Because you just have to focus on it. So
it's satisfying. It's really satisfying
and
to
it's
do.
satisfying. And I always did art, like it's kind of, as you know from the podcast, I did the art stuff. So it's kind of my passion. Like, so for me, it was easy to adult colouring, and I was like, this is fun, this is amazing, and it would just send me off. My mind would stop.
That's what you need. What did you
I think
find
for
helped?
me, TV. I love TV. I would get into a really good show and escape in that show. You know when the show's so good and you don't even think about your own life?
Yes.
So, yeah, I would get into shows and whatnot. Also just I feel like if I had a really good day of being gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, that would make me feel so good. So just controlling my day would make me feel so good, I feel like. Yeah, just taking control.
Yeah.
Even though it was extreme and it was too extreme, but
Yeah, you did well with that though.
yeah.
What do you think about this idea of not getting your hopes up? I think maybe you both have very different views on this, but do you think that helps? Because I get asked this a lot, and it's like, well, why would I get excited? Why would I even consider that this transfer had been successful if I'm just going to get disappointed? It's going to be so much harder.
Yes.
Do you find that? What are your thoughts around it?
I agree, because I would get my hopes so high at the start of my journey. I would actually convince myself I was pregnant. I don't know if you guys were the same. But
at the start,
at the start.
Yeah.
So every single month I would think, oh, I'm pregnant, and get so excited, start planning everything, and then realize I wasn't. And the down from that was so hard to accept. So then I was the opposite, and I was so negative, and I wouldn't get my hopes up. Even when it did work, I convinced myself it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I feel like, getting your hopes up so high, the down from that is so much harder.
A long way down,
Yeah. But I know you're a little bit different.
Yeah, I was a bit different. I had to have the hope, otherwise I wouldn't keep going. I think the lowest point, like my miscarriages were hard, but I got to turning 43 and my last embryo before Charlie, and that failed. And my birthday, it was get your bloods and your birthday's the next day. And I was like, you're kidding. And it was, and I was like, this is going to be the best birthday ever. I'm going to be pregnant. And so I did the high hope, but that the crash was exactly what you said. But if I didn't have the hope, I felt like I would just be at flatline anyway all the time. And that was worse. So I was kind of the opposite. I had to be able to get up the next day, I had to tap into hope. And so I latched onto every hope I could. Like, I mean, hope was in my little name for my hidden Instagram page. So, like, I had to have it. I thought that was one element of the puzzle, and I needed to hold on to it. So I'd find anything.
And it got you through the journey.
Anything. All the woo-woo stuff, anything. Yeah. Any little bit. I just saw 11:11 on my watch. Yeah. It's happening. Anything.
I don't think there's a perfect answer to that, is there? You know, you really have to find what works for you. And I would find at the beginning of my cycle, if my period started, I'd be like devastated and depressed for a couple of days.
Yep.
And then my hormones would start to rise. I'd be like, this is it. This is the cycle.
Yeah. Yep.
And then repeat, cycle, repeat. And it went on and on and on. But you're right. There has to be, whether you like this idea of hope or just that possibility, if there's like this little glimmer of possibility, because without that, I don't know, is it harder just to keep going through your life and just be like, well, what's the point of any of this?
Yes, and that was where my brain would go. If I didn't have the hope, then I'd spiral to a really bad place. So not only not becoming a mum, but then, okay, well, why am I here? What's the point? And
those thoughts are scary.
And I couldn't do that. I just couldn't let myself go there.
Do you find that this journey has changed you as a person or as a couple or as anything in particular? What do you think, Luce?
I feel like I'm so different. I don't know. More empathetic.
Yep.
More stress-free. Yep. I feel like I look at life differently now. I don't know. You're the same. I feel like
I pause now.
Yeah, slow down.
I feel like you're very empathetic anyway, and I feel like you would have been before, but I feel like it stops and makes you think, we hid so much. And for me, it makes me stop. Like if I feel like we live in this fast-paced world, and if we get caught in that speed, we don't stop and think about what that other person might be going through. And, we can just be harsh or be, I think, like you said, we really stop now. I stop and go, okay, well, why are they like this? Is something going on? And I just think differently.
More compassion for others.
Yeah.
More compassionate, yeah.
That's it. I think that as well. And this is a hard thing to talk about because I don't know what it's like to have children easily. I don't know what the difference would be, but I feel like it changes the way you parent as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
The connection you have to your kids. And I don't know if this is normal. My kids are 4 and 7 now, but I still check their breathing before I go to bed every night just to double check.
Yeah.
And I think that idea of compassion for others is huge. Just be able to stop and think, wow, what are they going through that this is how they've reacted to this situation? And you think, wow, there is a whole world that we don't even know about when it comes to others as well.
You don't know what someone's internally going through. Yeah,
absolutely.
So true.
If someone is struggling and they're feeling like they are the only ones in this spot, all their friends have moved on or haven't struggled, and they are not knowing how to really get into this idea of community or find other people, what advice would you give and how did you find each other?
I would say make an Instagram.
Yep.
Start as anonymous.
Yep.
I didn't show my face at the start. I hid my name. And I just started a profile. I had made a little pineapple emoji for my profile picture because I didn't want to use my personal Instagram to reach out to others. I would find people on hashtags. As soon as I started connecting to people and talking to people, I felt 100% better.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there's also groups. I started in Facebook groups as well. I just think my whole journey changed once I started talking to people.
Same.
I learnt more. I knew that I could actually question my doctor, question things that were happening. I learnt to advocate, like you were saying, but also just to lean on the community. Like we got such support from not just us, but like the whole community is so supportive that, and that got me through a lot as well.
That's it. Just to be around people that aren't going to say the wrong thing.
Yes.
Yeah. That happens a lot. That happens a lot. They mean well, but it hurts sometimes.
I hope they mean well. I really do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just think, of all the things you could have said, this is what you picked.
I know.
And then just to be around people that get it. And when, my students come to a group class, they don't even have to say anything. They don't have to say anything to each other. You are just surrounded by the energy of a bunch of people who understand. And if they do say something, it's not going to be the wrong thing. Gosh, there is so much value in that. And I wish that was part of treatment. Like, okay, you're starting this journey. You go and go
find your village.
Community.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you wish you had known at the very beginning before you started your journey? Was there something that you would wish that you could go back and tell yourself, or for anyone who is listening, maybe who is at the start or in the thick of their own journey, what would you tell them?
I would say don't be so harsh on yourself, especially when you're going through the IVF cycle. Take time off, call in sick. You don't need to get back to your friends and family. You just need to focus on you and the step in front of you, and you can be selfish and it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, be selfish 100%. I also think I feel like we all wish we had like a crystal ball, but I feel like, and it's not to dismiss because I know it doesn't happen for everyone, but I feel like I wish I just gave myself a bit of a breathe, like it's going to be okay. Like you'll get there. It might not be the way you expected. It might not be how you planned. It might take longer, but you will get there. And to just give yourself a breather. I wish I had a break. Like I really wish I just got off the treadmill. And yeah, and I think everything you said, Lucy, is so true. Like be kind to yourself. It's a hard
And
it's a
don't
hard
feel
road.
guilty about the feelings you're feeling as well. Because I would have a lot of guilt with the feelings.
Yeah.
When people would tell me they're pregnant, I would get angry and then feel really bad about it. But I know it's natural.
So normal.
But yeah, just let go of that guilt as well.
Gosh, this idea of stopping. I remember when I spoke on your podcast, you asked me if I had stopped, and I said yes because COVID happened.
Yes,
that was
right.
the only reason I stopped.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a huge blessing.
Yeah.
But this idea of stopping is really hard for people, and you think, well, if I stop, I will fail and this won't happen for me. But looking back now, goodness, if I had just stopped and paused and said, okay, we're not going to try for a few months. We're going to put everything else to the side and just live our lives. Gosh, I think that would have made such a big difference. So, but global pandemic, holiday, same, it happened the way it happened.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's it too, though. I think I would tell myself to not lose myself because I think that was really, that's the biggest issue for me is that I lost myself in the 3 years I was just, it was tunnel vision, IVF. And I think my friends that were not part of the journey probably thought I was crazy. They probably got sick of hearing, failed cycle or this or like I'm just, I'm not happy. They probably just like, oh, Yaelle's back. So I feel like, try and hold on to as much of you as you can. It's
all
hard.
the little things that bring you joy.
Yeah.
Little things.
Yeah.
It's hard with other people. It's that intangible grief, isn't it? If you lose a grandparent or something like that in your life where people can say, okay, well, that person was here and now they're not. That's quite easy, I think, for people to get their heads around. But when you're talking about something, even like pregnancy loss, where it's not like you lost a living baby, people are like, okay, well, you can just get pregnant again, no?
Yeah.
And then you throw in the grief of the whole infertility process and IVF cycles that don't work, and people have no idea what that is doing to you. And the thing I probably get asked the most with my students in terms of how to handle things emotionally is how do you navigate your friendships? And did you find your friendships remained intact from this journey, or did you find that some of them didn't?
I think they remained intact, but I isolated. So I just didn't see them. So I didn't see them as much. I wasn't as social. I was social with my IVF community. But I withdrew from my normal circle. And also I just didn't have the time either. So like because it was IVF appointments, intraleopard drips, or like I was just always doing something that it was that. If you weren't there holding my hand, sitting with me in it, then you were just sort of on the sideline.
And did that upset you?
Yeah, I did feel a lot of, I wish I had a lot more check-ins. I wish people came, and checked in on me. And like you said, the miscarriages, I kind of dismissed them because I was sort of pushed into that. But it was just dismissed and no check-ins, no how are you doing? I felt like anyone that did check in were almost checking in on where are you at your cycle? Aren't you meant to get news today? And it was, I did. Isolation was huge.
Yeah, I was the same. I isolated myself. I deleted my social media for a little bit as well. I just felt like when I was with my friends and family, sometimes they just wouldn't bring it up because maybe they didn't know how to approach it. But I feel like that makes it harder.
Yes.
And also I felt like I didn't feel understood by my friends and family as well. And I didn't feel like myself. I didn't want to socialise. I didn't want to get dressed up and go out and drink and do all these things. So, like I just wanted to stay home, watch my shows.
Watch my shows,
gluten-free, dairy-free,
message all the people
not have any sugar. Yeah, talk to you and others. But, I I definitely, isolated myself for sure.
And now, though, that your journeys have moved on and you're not in the thick of it anymore, are those friendships something that you resent? Is there any changes that have happened in those friendships since?
I think I feel guilty.
Yeah.
Because I was like, they weren't different. It was me.
Yeah,
I was different.
that's so true.
Yeah. So
was
I feel
different.
guilty about that.
Yeah.
And maybe I wish I was more open and transparent with them about how I was feeling, but instead I would just, would avoid it.
Yeah, I just isolated because it was just like
it's too much.
If we can't just like talk about it or support it, I don't have the capacity to mask, like to pretend everything's great when it's not.
Because that's exhausting.
It is so exhausting. Exhausting. And important for people to hear, like you were so dismissed by medical professionals with your loss, Yaelle. I feel like when you are so devastated and yet you've got a doctor saying, what are you so upset about? I have had the exact same words said to me by a doctor as well.
Wow.
And you just think, oh, there's something wrong with the way I'm feeling.
Yes.
Like, what am I doing here? I need to move on from this. And you're like, but then the trauma of what's gone through your body is just sort of stuck there and you can't move on. And you just think, well, what is the answer here? So I really want everyone listening to hear that it is nothing you've done and you're not
valid.
It's so valid. You know, there's nothing you're doing wrong and your feelings and your emotions that come out of this are incredibly important to acknowledge. And I think that through things like your amazing podcast, that you're allowing that space for people to come and tell their journeys. And I think we touched on that earlier, just that I think it's very healing to tell your journey. And I have so much respect for these women that I see on social media who share their journeys in real time and their faces and their tears. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I think that's a huge thing to do. And you also put yourself out there to the criticism that comes with social media. But just to be able to share it at all, even if it is anonymous is incredibly important as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a lot.
Thank you. How can people learn more about you both and how can we get people to listen to the podcast if they haven't already?
We're on Spotify, we're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube now.
Yeah.
We need to get better at YouTube.
We do need to get better
tips,
at YouTube.
Jen. We don't know anything about that
we
game.
need some tips from you. But
we're on Instagram.
And Apple and Spotify.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And as we finish up, please note that we'll put all of the links in the show notes as well so people can just click straight through to Spotify and listen. Is there anything that you want to leave people with? Any last kind of words of advice or hope or encouragement?
Okay, you're always good at this.
Last words. I think trust your instincts, follow your gut, and find your people.
Yeah, I would say the same and advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
If something feels wrong, speak up, ask the questions, change clinics if you want to. You need to do this for you.
Yeah.
And what feels right in your gut, in your heart, follow that.
Yeah. But also allow yourself to feel too, I think.
Yeah.
And like you said, valid. Like all your feelings are valid. Don't let anyone dismiss them.
Yeah,
because it's a lot.
It is a lot in the moment. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for
Thanks for
sharing
having
everything
us.
and for sharing your journeys as well. I know it's a big thing for a lot of people, and it's very healing for others to hear it. So.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for listening right to the end of this episode. Now, if you found this conversation helpful, I would love it if you could share it with someone because you never know who might be struggling in your own life as well. Like I said before, all the links to the IVF Real Talk podcast will be down in the show notes. And if you have 30 seconds, it would mean the absolute world to me if you could leave a comment or a review, no matter where you are listening to this or watching this if you're on YouTube. It makes such a difference in helping us get the word out to as many people as possible. Now, next week on the podcast, we are talking about practical manifestation tools for your fertility journey, and in particular, why your vision board is not working and how to design one that does. So until then, I am sending you all of my wishes as you continue your own journey to fertility. The most common thing I hear from students who are on their fertility journey is that the stress of trying to conceive has taken over their life. Your days end up being filled with endless appointments, navigating pregnancy announcements. You're trying to eat right, take all your supplements, and it is all you think about from the moment you wake up. I designed the Element Fertility Yoga course to support your body, your mind, and your mental health in 3 important ways: to synchronize your hormones, increase circulation and blood flow, and to help regulate your nervous system. But on top of this, the greatest gift that you can give yourself throughout this journey is a sense of peace to help you calm your mind and just make this process feel easier. Every single one of my students tell me that this is the first thing they notice after starting a yoga, meditation, and breathwork practice. But on top of this, you have the amazing benefit of actually supporting and increasing your fertility. Studies have shown that those participating in mind-body programs as they're trying to conceive have success rates 3 times greater than those who don't. The course I've designed walks you through natural conception as well as fertility treatments and IVF cycles. And the best part is you can work through it at your own pace in the comfort of your home. The practices start from just 10 minutes per day. To learn more, visit elementpilatesyoga.com or see the link in the show notes.